Nothing that has been arranged against you in secret is hidden from God. Not the conversation that happened in a room you weren't in. Not the version of events that was quietly shaped to make you look smaller than you are. Not the pressure that has been building around your name, your work, your sense of your own capability. God is not a distant observer collecting information slowly. He already knows. He has always known. And he is not neutral about what he sees. You've been staring at the ceiling again. Not because you chose to be awake at this hour, but because the mind started running before you could stop it, pulling at threads, replaying the day, rehearsing tomorrow before tomorrow has even arrived. The chest is tight in that particular way it gets when the pressure has been sitting for too long without release. And somewhere between the exhaustion and the anxiety, here you are, still trying, still believing, even if only barely tonight. That barely is enough to bring before God. Father, I come into this prayer on behalf of someone who is genuinely worn, not spiritually dramatic, not in crisis necessarily, just worn. The kind of worn that comes from sustained pressure at work, from carrying expectations that keep shifting, from giving the best of themselves day after day to something that doesn't always give back in proportion to what it costs. That is a real kind of tired. And I want to name it honestly before you, because you are not impressed by pretending. And this person deserves to be seen as they actually are tonight, not as they wish they were. Tonight, I don't have a tidy prayer for this. I don't have perfect words for the specific weight of what work pressure does to a person over time. What I have is the simple conviction that you see it, is that you are not asking this person to manufacture more strength before you will show up, and that your presence does not require a performance before it arrives. Take one slow breath right now. Seriously. Just one. Let the shoulders drop a little. You don't have to solve tomorrow tonight. The Psalms are full of people who brought exactly this kind of weariness to God. Not polished prayers, not triumphant declarations, but honest, sometimes ragged, sometimes barely coherent cries from people who were running on fumes and needed God to be real in a very practical way. One of them describes being surrounded on every side, hemmed in by pressure that has no obvious exit, and then turning, not to strategy or self-sufficiency, but simply toward God, and finding Him there, already there, not requiring explanation before responding. I want that for the one hearing this tonight. Not a theology lecture, just the actual, felt, unmistakable nearness of a God who is already in this room. Because here is what I believe about the anxiety that has been running tonight. It is not telling the truth. It feels like truth. It presents itself with the confidence of fact. But anxiety is not a reliable narrator. It takes real concerns and amplifies them past what they actually are, stretches them forward into futures that haven't happened. He assigns them a permanence they don't actually have. And the antidote is not willpower. It is not positive thinking. It is not telling yourself to calm down. The antidote is the presence of a God who is bigger than the thing that feels biggest right now. Father, we ask you to move against the fear that has attached itself to this person's sense of their own future. The fear that the pressure at work means something permanent about their worth. The fear that the difficulty of this season is a verdict rather than a chapter. The fear that they are somehow falling behind in a race that God never asked them to run at that pace in the first place. Let those fears lose their grip tonight. Not through argument, but through encounter. Let the simple weight of your presence be more real in this room than anything the anxious mind has been rehearsing. Every word spoken to diminish this person's confidence in who God made them to be. Let it find no permanent place to land. Every invisible pressure designed to make them smaller, let it come to nothing. Every arrangement of circumstance intended to wear them down until they stop believing in what God placed in them, let it be undone. Not with retaliation, not with force, but with the quiet, a complete authority of a God who does not allow permanent damage to what He is still building. Guard this mind tonight, Father. Guard the entrance to the spiral. Let what is true find room, and let what is false find none. Guard the sleep that needs to come, because a rested mind sees more clearly, makes better decisions, hears God more accurately. Let this person close their eyes tonight and actually rest, not just pause, but genuinely restore. The work will still be there in the morning. The pressure will need to be faced. But mourning you, the rested version, the one who has spent time in God's presence tonight, that version is better equipped for what comes next than the exhausted version trying to solve everything right now at this hour. So for tonight, just this: you are seen. You are not defined by the hardest season you are currently in. And the God who holds your future has not been influenced by whatever has been pressing against your present. He knows what He put in you, and He is not finished with it yet. Pressure has a sound, not a literal one, but something close. It is the background noise that never fully goes quiet, the low hum of unfinished things, of expectations not yet met, of a standard that keeps moving just slightly past wherever you manage to reach. Most people around you cannot hear it. They see someone who is functioning, who is showing up, who is holding it together reasonably well from the outside. But you hear it. You've been hearing it for a while now. And the exhausting part is not just the pressure itself. It is the performance of being fine while carrying it. Father, I want to reach into that specific exhaustion tonight. The one that lives not in the muscles, but in the mind. In the place where a person has been managing their own emotions for so long that they've lost track of what they actually feel underneath the management. Because that is what sustained work pressure does over time. It doesn't just make you tired. It makes you a stranger to your own interior. It trains you to monitor yourself, to edit yourself, to be useful and capable and composed, until the person underneath all of that composure starts to feel very far away. Reach into that faraway place tonight. Find what has been buried under the performance, and tend to it the way only you can. Not with a diagnosis, not with a plan, just with presence. The kind that doesn't need the person to explain themselves before it settles in. The kind that knows what it finds and is not surprised, not disappointed, not requiring anything different before it stays. In 2 Corinthians, Paul describes being hard-pressed on every side but not crushed, perplexed but not in despair, struck down but not destroyed. That is not a description of someone who never felt the pressure. It is a description of someone who felt it fully and found that something held underneath it, something that the pressure could not reach. I want that something for the one hearing this tonight. Not immunity from difficulty, but that deeper place, that interior foundation that holds even when everything above it is shaking. Father, we ask you now to begin lifting what is settled, the mental weight that wakes this person before the alarm. The low-grade dread that arrives before the day has given it reason to. The habit of bracing, of preparing for the worst before the best, has even had a chance to show up. Let that pattern begin to loosen. Not all at once. Change rarely works that way, but one thread at a time. The way tension releases from a muscle that finally remembers it is allowed to rest. We declare that the oppression over this person's mind does not get to be permanent. We declare that the narrative of not enough, not capable enough, not strong enough, not further along enough, finds no more room to run. And we declare that the peace of God, the specific, inexplicable, circumstances defying peace that Paul described as something the mind cannot manufacture on its own, begins to move into the places where anxiety has been living. Not as a feeling necessarily, feelings follow slowly, but as a fact, a quiet, settled, underground fact that holds even when the surface is still unsettled. Let the fear of being found lacking, the fear that this season of pressure reveals something permanently true about this person's worth or capability, let it be answered tonight, not by circumstances changing, but by God speaking. He is the one whose assessment of this person is the only one that carries final authority. And his assessment has not been revised by a difficult quarter, a hard conversation at work, a season where more was demanded than felt available to give. He made this person. He knows what he put in them. And he is not reconsidering. Guard the mind tomorrow morning, Father. Guard those first few moments before full consciousness arrives, when the weight tries to return before the eyes are even open. Let something different be there instead. Not euphoria, not forced positivity, just a thread of genuine okayness. A small, real, honest sense that today is navigable, that you are already in it, that whatever it brings, whilst it does not have to be carried alone, that is enough. That is more than enough. And to the pressure itself, to everything that has been working to convince this person that they are defined by their most stretched season, it has no authority here. God frustrates what he did not authorize. What was designed to wear this person down until they stop believing in what he placed in them, let it find no traction. Let it exhaust itself against a life that is quietly, for firmly, unhurriedly, held by hands that do not tire. Breathe for a moment. Just breathe. The ceiling you've been staring at has nothing for you. But the God who made you, who sees you right now in this room, in this moment, in this exact version of tired, he has everything you need for tonight. And tonight is all you have to get through. Not the whole year, not the whole season. Just tonight. And you are not getting through it alone. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their mind deserves rest too. At some point tonight, the mind has to be given permission to stop. Not because every question has been answered, not because the pressure disappeared while you were praying, but because there is a God who is awake through the night hours, who does not need your vigilance to keep things from falling apart, and who has been quietly, patiently, persistently waiting for you to hand him the weight you've been gripping since you woke up this morning. This is that moment. This is the invitation to open the hands. Father, we come to the end of this prayer the way you come to the end of a long day when you finally sit down and realize how much you were carrying without fully knowing it. That moment of sitting down, that exhale. That is the posture of this closing. We are not finishing with a shout. We are finishing with the deep, quiet, genuine relief of people who have remembered that they are not alone in this. The book of Proverbs carries a line that doesn't get enough attention. A simple observation that when a person lies down, their sleep will be sweet. Not the sleep of someone who solved everything, not the sleep of someone whose circumstances are perfectly resolved, but the sleep of someone who has learned to trust the God who watches over what they cannot. That is the sleep I am asking for tonight. Not just unconsciousness, not just the pause between one hard day and the next. Genuine rest. The kind that does something to the interior, that restores what exhaustion took, that returns a person to themselves in a way that a sleepless night never can. So we speak now to the mind that has been working overtime, to the part of this person that has been monitoring, calculating, preparing, bracing. You are allowed to stop now, not permanently, just for tonight. The things that need attention will still be there in the morning and morning. You will be better equipped to face them than tonight you who has already given everything available to give. Rest is not retreat. Rest is preparation. And God does not ask you to run on empty indefinitely. He asks you to trust Him enough to stop. Father, seal this mind with your peace tonight. Not the kind that comes from resolved circumstances, but the kind that Paul described as standing guard, like a sentinel posted at the entrance of the heart and mind, keeping out what has no right to enter at this hour. Let that peace be specific and practical. Let it quiet the projections. Let it still the rehearsals. Let it interrupt the loop that keeps replaying what was said, what should have been said, what tomorrow might bring. Let it simply, gently, firmly say, enough for today. This is enough. You have done enough. God has the rest. Every word spoken over this person to make them doubt their value in the place where they work, let it find no permanent residence. Every standard held over them that was never God's standard to begin with, let it lose its grip. Every invisible pressure arranged to make them feel perpetually behind, let it come to nothing before the simple truth that this person is exactly where God has them, equipped with what God has given them, moving at the pace God has set, not the pace fear demands, not the pace comparison requires, God's pace, which is always, without exception, enough. We declare peace over this mind tonight, real peace, earned not by performance, but received as gift, the way all the best things from God are received. We declare that the ceiling this person has been staring at becomes simply a ceiling again. not a surface for projecting fears onto, not a reminder of everything unresolved, just a ceiling. And above that ceiling, above the roof, above everything that feels pressing and immediate and urgent tonight, there is a God whose perspective on this life is not panicked, not concerned, not scrambling for solutions. He is steady. He is present. He is good. Guard the sleep that comes after this prayer, Father. Guard the dreams. Guard the transition between waking and resting. That vulnerable threshold where the mind sometimes makes one last attempt to pull the person back into worry. Stand at that threshold. Let what crosses it be only what belongs there. Peace, rest, the quiet awareness, even in sleep, of being held. Tomorrow will come with its own requirements. The work will be there. The pressure may still be present. Some things will not have changed overnight, but you will have changed, slightly, genuinely, in the way that a person changes when they have spent real time in the presence of a God who is not rattled by what rattles them. You will wake up having been with someone who knows the full picture, who is not worried about how it ends, who has already made provision for what tomorrow needs before tomorrow arrives. That changes something. It always does. So go to sleep, not as someone defeated by the day, but as someone who handed the day to God and trusted Him with it. Not as someone who couldn't handle the pressure, but as someone wise enough to know that rest is part of how God prepares people for what comes next. Not as someone falling behind, but as someone being carried forward by hands that are steadier than any anxiety ever told you they were. May your mind be quieter tonight than it has been in weeks. May the first thought that arrives tomorrow morning carry more hope than dread. May the work ahead feel more navigable than it did today. Not because it got easier, but because you got more rested. May the God who neither slumbers nor sleeps watch over everything you had to put down tonight. And may He return it to you in the morning, in better condition than you left it. And may you know, somewhere deeper than thought, that you are not behind. You are not lacking. You are not alone. You are exactly, precisely, intentionally in the hands of a God who has never once dropped what He was holding. Rest now. He has this. He has always had this.